Hi, this is Emily from Simply Steins. Today we are doing a mini-series in our channel, Hometown Homesteads, where I'm going to be going around to our neighbors and that have homesteads and asking them how they got started and just life as a homestead. So today I'm so excited because we are interviewing the Miller family, which Kelsey Miller actually got me interested in gardening last year, and she was a big help. So when we first decided to do this channel, she was the one that I wanted to do first. So I'm excited to show you guys and to meet the Millers. Three children, ages 9 to 15. We homeschool our kids, and we like to be outside, and we love living out in the country. It's not something we ever thought that we would get to do. So we've lived at this property since 2008, and 2009 was our first actual full summer season here. So we started kind of doing some stuff then, and yeah, that's it. Outdoorsy family. Homeschool family. That's what we do. My definition of a homestead is that we are producing a lot of our own food. I don't want to be dependent upon the grocery store for every single thing that we need. I realize being 100% self-sufficient is a pretty lofty goal, but definitely to not feel like you had to run to the grocery store all the time. Yeah. So homesteading to me just means, is that I think just having stuff available. I'd say for me personally, it has helped me to understand what I'm capable of, because it isn't easy work. It's not easy work at all. It also just has helped me to, I don't know, I guess just that self-sufficiency just helps you learn to feel more capable. I don't know. The impact that I think that it's had on our family's life, or I hope, is hopefully instilling a good work ethic in our kids. And probably more than anything, I hope the impact that it's had on their life is that the freedom that they could have from that, and just the ability, they may never choose this lifestyle, but knowing that it's an option. Resources that help me the most, yeah, so friends, definitely. I had a really good friend who used to be my neighbor, who was really, really good at that. Her and her husband had kind of already done the homesteading thing, and she was just an abundance of information. But then I definitely have used books as resources, but definitely in the last few years, YouTube has been my friend. So, but that's probably just been, I think maybe we discovered homesteading channels in like maybe 2017 or maybe 16. It was probably 16, I guess. So we haven't probably been utilizing that as long as it's been around. Favorite thing that I grow? Well, tomatoes are always a hit, because some of our favorite things that I can are the tomatoes. I do love the tomatoes. Funny thing, none of us really like to eat beets, but I really love the way they look when they're growing. Yeah. They're really pretty. So that would be another thing. But tomatoes are probably my favorite, because once you get them in the ground and you get them all mulched, and they just get all bushy and nice, and we like to eat them. And yeah, I'd say tomatoes. This year. We built it last June, so I've had it for a year. Yeah, I've wanted a greenhouse for so long. So this was my birthday present last year, and we love it. It's honestly, this is probably my favorite place on the homestead, is this area. It's still not what I dreamed for it to be, this mulch area, but we're getting there. Raised beds are kind of expensive, so just little bit by little bit. One of the YouTube channels that we watch, they always say, inch by inch makes it a cinch, yard by yard makes it hard. So I always remember that. Inch by inch, we'll get it done. So It's not very clean in here right now because this is kind of off season, so everything just gets thrown in here. You know, thrifty homesteading, we got some free pallets, so we made use of them and made some shelves, and I got this. This was one of my favorite finds. Whenever I knew I was getting a greenhouse, I really wanted one of these. Some people would probably go, oh, I can't believe you did that with an antique, but I love it for my soil. This is what I keep my soil in. That's so one of the things, because I don't have heat in here, so one of the things that I had to do a lot early on this year, because I think I started planting in here probably at the end of February. I think I went ahead and started throwing some stuff in. I did have some losses because I did end up, it got warm enough in here. Even on the cold February days, it would get up to 75 in here as long as the sun was shining. And so I had several tomatoes that sprouted, and then it would freeze, and it frosted in here. So I did lose my first batch to that. But I knew it was going to be a learning curve this year. I'm trying to find my little, there they are. These, I found these to be really handy. That's got a lot of planting. Getting started early on. Because it was kind of like a double greenhouse for them. So sometimes I could get away with having them in the greenhouse inside of one of these. A lot of times once things started poking through, I would have to go ahead and bring them in the house at night. But definitely got a jump start. One of the things we're having to learn to deal with is ventilation, because you would think in February and March that you wouldn't have to worry about that, but it will easily get up. Like in March, we had up to 90 in here.
Oh, yeah.
That can be kind of hard on baby plants, of course. I love these. These are the automatic opening vents. I would definitely do that again. Yeah, my husband just found plans for it online, and he went to town, building my dream.
Nice.
So I dream it, he builds it. Of course, I love to have perennial herbs and stuff. We like to grow a lot of our own herbs for medicine and whatever. And so I'm kind of trying to establish this area as a permanent place for that. And I love creek rocks, and they're free. So dream will end up being raised beds here at this area. And then all my strawberries that are taking over are going to end up in raised beds too along the back. This is a very wet section of our yard, so we've always known that this section would be best utilized with raised beds. And we've been toying with the idea of some different materials to use besides cedar. Cedar's nice because we didn't want treated boards up against our food, but it's really expensive. Little bits. But. And we also, I think we probably decided, we love the 4 high on the raised beds. It's a lot easier on our backs. But I think we could probably save some money and maybe only go 2 high over here just to help with the drainage. So probably mostly going to do strawberries in the higher ones, because that is a lot of work. It's a lot of bending over. The other stuff maybe doesn't take as much. So, but I'm really enjoying, I kept lettuce going all year in there. I wasn't really able to harvest it in the coldest part of the winter, but then it started coming back really quick, like at the end of February. So we've had lettuce going probably since the end of February, beginning of March, and have been eating on it. And then I just keep planting it. And I thought, I think I'll put some in pots and put it out here now that it's too hot in the greenhouse. So far, it's still going good. But I do have some tomatoes inside of there that I started early on, hoping they'd be earlier tomatoes, but then they never sprouted. Well, now they're growing great. So I guess they'll be later. I feel like I learn something new about growing tomatoes every year. I've really struggled a lot with having, I guess they would call it blight on the leaves. And so I'm trying really hard to combat that this year, spacing things out more. I have a tendency to, if I grew it by seed, then I have to plant it, and I would really overplant the seeds. And this really just isn't conducive to growing good plants. You have to give them space and air. And so, last year, I think maybe I ended up with 90 tomato plants, and I thought I had to plant them all, so I crammed them all in an area, and they ended up getting blight. So there's been successes every year, and there's been losses every single year, and I know that it will continue to be that way. There was just a lot more failures in the beginning. So you just learn as you go, and you have to learn your land. Everybody has different setups, different kind of soil, different places. So you learn the wet spots, you learn the dry spots, you learn all those things. So yeah, don't get discouraged. That would be my advice. Keep going. Don't quit. So this area right here was actually the first garden that we ever had, and we gardened right in the ground here for probably the first 3 years, I would say. many fails. I had no garden tools. I did not have a tiller. We would have a sweet farmer down the road that would come and till it up for us, and I would start planting, and then the weeds would take over. I also had babies at that time. It was hard to keep up with stuff. And everything would always get waterlogged, so I really never had a good garden here. And I really don't know what gave us the idea, but we just thought, well, maybe if we moved back a little bit, it would have better drainage. So that's when we added that garden in. I want to say we added that one in 2013. Maybe it might have been 2012. And that's when we really began to start producing enough food to actually be able to can. I don't recall ever really having enough off of this garden to can when we were just gardening here. So it was an easy decision to just switch over to mulch garden up here. So, and I still have yet really to have success of growing anything in the mulch. I really think it's just too soggy here. It's not a good spot for that. So sometimes your property just makes those decisions for you. Shows you what it needs, where it needs it. So I really grew up in town all my life for the most part. But I can remember, like, over the years just constantly telling Mom and Dad, if you'll just plant a garden, I'll take care of it. If you'll just plant a garden, I'll take care of it. And a couple of times they let me do it. And I loved it every time. I loved doing it. But of course, as a kid, your attention span isn't great. And Mom would be like, it's getting too weedy. You know, she didn't really want to have all the weeds going on. I can't really blame her. And so we only did that just a handful of times. But I'll tell you, I've thought about this before, like where this passion, like where did I see this modeled as a kid that I thought, oh, that might be a really good idea. We had neighbors growing up right behind us, and we lived in town, but they had a really big town lot. Like, I would say their property that they had in town was probably equivalent of what we actually own right here. And they had a big barn, they raised chickens, and they had a huge, beautiful garden. And I helped them butcher chickens once whenever I was little. I didn't know. I was like, okay. I don't even remember thinking, gosh, that's weird. Is that where chicken comes from? I guess it just seemed natural to me. I don't know. But I helped them butcher the chickens, and then I watched them always just gardening these beautiful gardens, and she would can all their food. And I remember thinking, that's the life I want. And I was probably 8, 9. So I would say the dream began way back then. I may not have realized what it was at the time, but I do remember thinking that's the life I want. So, and slowly we're building it. So, I didn't even know what YouTube was when I started. Yeah. So no, definitely didn't use YouTube then. I don't know. In the words of Justin Rhodes, I just planted. Just plant. I stuck stuff in the ground, and it worked or it didn't. And I still really operate a lot like that. I'm not I'm more of a doer. Like, do it and figure it out as you go. I don't read a lot of books. And it's not that I don't like to read books. I just don't really. I like to move. So I don't sit down and read a lot. But YouTube is very helpful. We do watch a lot of homesteading channels now, so there's a lot of valuable information out there. But this is the first year, I would say, my goal this year was to learn about soil. I want to learn the science of the soil. So I have been trying to do that. I got a soil test kit and tested my soil and trying to make some amendments to that. But here again, when you're on a budget and you want to do organic, you don't want to throw all the synthetic chemicals on your garden to give it what it needs. So just trying to learn how to do that. But I think crop rotation will probably be something I'll focus on next year. I think that's probably really important for the pests and all of that. So I'm going to try to learn more about that and get the garden set up better for that next year. This is my first planting. I say that because I've got a little bit over there that I planted first, but it really wasn't too far apart. So I do the corn a lot like I do the potatoes. And mostly do that for self-preservation because corn is hard work whenever I go to preserving it. So I need to do smaller quantities and do it more times than doing it all at once. So, and you know, everybody just wants to eat on sweet corn all summer. So plant it in stages, then you can enjoy it longer. So, and then I always do the method of planting vining stuff in with my corn. It just helps. I love having a ground cover. I honestly would love to eventually get to the point where we're doing a lot more no-till gardening, because I know that, you know, you're losing a lot of your topsoil that way when it rains, and a lot of the nitrogen out of your soil. So I would love to eventually get some just established beds, but for now, since that's not what we have set up, and I do have to till to maintain because I just don't, it's hard to come by enough mulch to keep that all down. It is nice to plant stuff like that will kind of become a ground cover underneath the corn. Helps hold in the moisture and keeps the weeds down, so I really like that method. I've done that for several years now. Back here I have pumpkin, pie pumpkins, I have butternut squash and spaghetti squash, and then acorn squash. I've been trying to get these guys to come up for a couple times. This is the second time I planted them, and I actually was getting really excited whenever we were talking about this corn because I eyeballed this. I'm like, oh, it's coming up. There's another one right there too. So, oh, and that one. So it looks like I'm gonna get some acorn squash. So, and then this one was a volunteer. I actually am still not 100% sure what this even is. It's kind of long looking. It's a squash of some sort, but I'm not for sure. I planted a yellow squash in this area last year, so I'm thinking it might be like a straight neck yellow squash, but I don't know that for sure. Doing more organic style gardening, the corn was really starting to get kind of limey. It still is a little bit here. And of course, most people would just throw maybe some of the synthetic nitrogen on their garden, and that's fine. Some people like to do that, but I would just rather not. I really want to try to adjust my soil and help it to be biologically correct and be working like it should be. So I just went to my compost pile, grabbed some of the chicken bedding, and side dressed the corn and tilled it in before it rained last time, and it's already started to green up. So a good little boost of nitrogen. So I've actually, before, I've taken it straight out of the coop and done that. I know a lot of times people will be like, oh, that burns it. I mean, I would never suggest just putting it right on top of your corn, but I've never had it burn it whenever I side dressed it and tilled it in. So there's one of our natural ways of nitrogen. Keep some chickens. I guess this would be a good example of trying to maintain something that maybe fits more within our family. None of us love squash. So like we like some fried yellow squash and some fried zucchini, and maybe I'll use this to make zucchini bread, but I was planting so many plants before, so I keep reminding myself there's really no point in growing it if you're not going to eat it. So I'm really trying hard to really be streamlined and pointed with what I'm doing this year, so saving some time. And so I did less peppers because normally I would do like 3 times this many peppers, but I'm probably wishing I had now because these ones are not doing very well. That's one reason I always overplant, because there's always losses. Always losses. And then this was the first planting of tomatoes. So I got these out a little bit earlier than the ones in the first garden that we looked at. And they're doing pretty good, but here again, like this corner of the garden is a really wet corner. So I knew I was taking a risk here, but this was the only section that I had available that hadn't had stuff in it that I didn't want to plant tomatoes after. They really don't like to be planted in the same place that potatoes have been, and so I had potatoes all over the rest of that garden last year, so I was kind of limited, which is where learning crop rotation next year I think will be really good. I really need to work on that, so that'll be a goal for next year. I had some flowers growing along here, but this water again has just been, gosh, it's rough on them, so I guess that's one of those things. I've always known this, so I knew I was taking a risk putting this here. I knew this was a wet corner. Probably knew what was going to happen, but sometimes you just do what you got to do. So, see what happens. We may have victory still. You never know. See, I've got one split in there, so that one might not be a victory. That might be a loss. I really started planting comfrey under everything. You can kind of, the grapes are taking it over, but I've got comfrey under there. I've been lining all of my fruit trees and stuff like this and intermixing it with my berries. Comfrey is such an awesome plant. It really does fill out, and it will just go, and it grows really, really well. You probably have a hard time killing it, but it is like the super plant of the garden. It pulls up nitrogen from the ground and makes it more available to the plants that it's around. It's wonderful chicken feed. It's good for the compost pile. Mulch, pull it out and just throw it down. It's good mulch. I think it provides potassium for the fruit trees. So all of our fruit trees and berries and everything, I use it for a ground cover / fertilizer for them. So. don't think anyone would ever regret it. Even if you just tried it, I don't think that you would regret the experience at all. I just can't imagine a better way to raise kids. This is such a natural way of life. I really truly believe this is a way of life that we were created to live. I think our Creator has blessed us with all the things around us that we need to sustain ourselves and to thrive.
Thanks for coming along with our tour. We'll see you next time. Bye.